It's a whole week in an hour. How about that? This is the Rod Pedersen Show. Best of the week with your host, Producer Clark.
All right. Hey, welcome back. It is the century episode of the Best of the Week here on the Rod Pedersen Show. That's right, episode 100. Looking forward to getting into this one. It was a very exciting week here. Obviously, there was a ton of hubbub going on in the NHL around the Seattle Kraken draft and a lot of rumors happening throughout the week. A ton of CFL news as training camps are well underway, and some drama in the NFL, which we will get to later on in the show with a pretty good source. So we're going to get into it. We're going to start actually all the way into Thursday's episode as we get into the best of the week here for the Rod Pedersen Show. And every time this guy's on, it's a great chat because he used to work with Rod's dad with the Dallas Stars organization. So they always reminisce a little bit about those times, and it's just always a really genuinely great chat between the two of them. So here it is from Thursday. It is TSN's Director of Scouting, Craig Button, in the day prior to the NHL entry draft, and a lot of excitement going on around the Seattle Kraken, which had just happened the day before. So here it is, Craig Button from Thursday on the Rod Pedersen Show.
I got to get Craig Button's thoughts on that. As a matter of fact, they tell me we got him. So let's please get Craig Button on the screen. An original Montreal guy. Craig, good morning, sir. How you doing? Just finish a workout or what?
No, actually I didn't. This is how I wake up. I wake up looking like I've been exercising and working out, just give my hair a little bit of a shake and a rattle and, away I go. But sorry, I was late. My internet was kicking me out, and I just had to make an adjustment. My apologies, Rod.
You got to switch over to TELUS. You got to switch over to TELUS in Alberta. That's what you got to do. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
No, so we're talking about Shea Weber. I heard you talking about Shea Weber. And here's the most impressive thing, and it always impresses me about NHL players, and specifically as it relates to the playoffs. What the players are willing to do, what they're willing to sacrifice to do everything they can to help their team win that Stanley Cup. It is beyond impressive. I mean, we hear about Shea Weber, and we hear now from Marc Bergevin that he might never play again. I've seen it. I've seen it up front. I've seen what players are prepared to endure to be able to go and compete for the Stanley Cup. And, Rod, you're very familiar, and I call hockey players thoroughbreds. And, obviously Connor McDavid is a different thoroughbred than other players, but they're thoroughbreds. And the reason why you see a horse race, a thoroughbred horse, that when it breaks a limb or something, why they have to put it down, because the thoroughbred only knows how to run hard. And that's what NHL players are. They know how to go, and they're willing to, we use terms like lay it on the line. And I know there's a lot of talk around about, long-term effects, short-term effects, right? This is about internal, the insides of a player that says, I want to do this because it's something that's important to me. And, Rod, I've said this many a times. If you go into a dressing room and you ask the players who wants to win, all the hands go up. When you ask the second question and you say, who's prepared to pay the price? All the hands go up. But when you ask the third question, who knows what the price is? The greatest player, Wayne Gretzky, said it after they lost in 1983 to the Islanders. He walked past that Islanders dressing room and he said, that's what it takes. So these players are wired, and that's my explanation for Shea Weber.
Yeah, for sure. And those Islanders players who are our buddies, of course, right? Trottier and Potvin and all those. Well, they all had ice bags, right? They just won the Stanley Cup and they're not celebrating. They can't even move. But so Carey Price, we learn, is going to be injured to start the start of next season. So how much do you know, Craig? Because Jeff Petrie, my God, I thought he was almost dead. He was blind. Look at his eyes. They're all red. And he goes out and he's the best player on the ice in Vegas. I'm like, what the hell? They were paying the price. That's why it hurts so much that they didn't even really compete in the Stanley Cup final. But how much do you know about how hurt they were?
I don't think we ever do. Honestly, I don't, because the players downplay it too. Oh, it's no big deal. Oh, we're in the playoffs. You just play. You do your thing, right? You sit down and you listen to Jeff Petrie, talk about the finger and being broken, and he doesn't want to have surgery, gets it taped up. I mean, he passes out. That's how the blood vessels in his eyes burst, because he passed out as they were resetting it. Alex Killorn blocks a Shea Weber. Well, it wasn't Shea Weber, it was Barclay Goodrow, but Alex Killorn has his tibia broken. They operate and put a rod in. And he's taken the pregame warm-up in Game 4 in Montreal and doesn't play Game 5, but he says, I might have been able to play in Game 6 or 7. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? If I broke my tibia and had a rod in, I'd be down for 12 weeks. Not 12 hours or 7 days. And again, it just speaks to, what they're willing to do. And, I'll go back. I hear, oh, yeah, they're forced to do it. I don't buy that. I think players, understand that, there's going to be times when you're going to have to play hurt. What you never want to do is put a player into a position where he has to play injured. Playing hurt is different than playing injured. And I don't think, in the vast majority of cases, nobody is ever going to put a player into a position where he has to play injured. But, playing hurt is part of it. Nobody's 100%. I know in 1999, Rod, you know what's going on, and you're looking at it, and you're just amazed. You're absolutely 100% amazed what these players are not only capable of doing, but what they're willing to do.
Well, by the way, thank you for bringing up 1999, and for our viewers that don't know, Craig Button was my dad's boss for a few decades with the Dallas Stars and won a Stanley Cup together. So please, let's sashay off to a question that you never get about that team. What's a story of a guy that you could go through the whole roster, couldn't you? By number. Well, obviously you can. You're a personnel guy. But what's one story of you guys winning that Stanley Cup that you've never really told that maybe made you realize how special that team was?
I'll take you back. I'm going to take you back to First period intermission of Game 6, Western Conference Final versus the Colorado Avalanche. And the coaches are always working to try to instill, the game plan, the attitude of the team, the philosophy of the team. And they're working on that from day one of a season. We lost Game 5. We were the President's Trophy winners that year. Colorado was a top team. We lost Game 5 in Dallas. We were down 3-2. We come into Colorado, and we're down 1-0 after the first period. So Ken Hitchcock, the head coach, and Rick Wilson and Doug Jarvis, the assistant coaches, they're sitting there. Okay, what do we have to do? What adjustments do we have to make? And before they go in to address the team ahead of the second period. Ken Hitchcock says he comes in to the entryway where he's going to come in, wherever it was in Denver at that time. And he says he stops because he hears the players saying, okay, listen, don't worry. We got this. Here's what we got to do. If we continue to do this, we're going to be able to take advantage, be ready for it. We're doing the right things. And he said there was 2 things that struck him there. Number one, they had it. The players had it. He said the players had ownership. And Ken had given them ownership. But now they took the ownership. And with it, they understood the strengths of their own games and the strength of the team together. We went 1-4-1 and won Game 7 4-1. That, to me, is a moment in time that when, as coaches, and it's no different as parents, you get that sense of pride that, hey, I've instilled in the team, I've instilled in my kids things that are really important for them to be successful. And when Ken Hitchcock told that story, you see the sense of pride in him of not only what he did, that's his job, but that the players had it. And, we went on to win the Stanley Cup. And to me, that was a real significant moment in knowing that you not only had a good team, but you had, Bill Belichick always says this. It's not about having the most talented players. It's about having the players that make you the best team. And we had that in Dallas.
Well, and what I love is I've been around sports a long time, and when, like, I just know Modano didn't care for Hitch in the early going, right? I know a lot of, in football, that coach, he's making me do things I don't want to do. And they end up winning a championship, right? It's so awesome when it comes around to see. Craig, before I let you go, announced yesterday the CHL is coming home to TSN. It feels good in here for me, for the CHL to be back on TSN. What does that mean to you as a guy that is so close to junior hockey?
Well, I think it's fantastic. Like, you know, I think there's so many different ways to talk about it. Number one, I mean, we have the World Junior Tournament, right? And that's a huge thing. We have the under 18, you know, being in the junior rinks over the course of many, many years and a lot of nights with your father and watching the junior play. Like, every time I go into a rink across the CHL, like, I have a memory. I have a story, and a lot of them I have more than one memory, more than one story. So to be able to, and the communities, as you well know, Rod, are so proud of their junior hockey and the players that represent their cities and towns. And so to be able to have that be part of TSN and to be able to tell those stories and to tell those memories and connect it to the community from my experiences over 30 years, I'll tell you what, it's really special, and I can only tell you this. I'm excited. It's not just, I mean, we're going to see fantastic young players and players that are committed to reaching their goals, and, you know, they have these big dreams. But to be a part of it and to be able to tell those stories, not just the current ones, but over the course of time and the years, it's special.
Yeah, I think it's great. And, hey, a last comment here. They're watching in Carlisle, Saskatchewan, where we're calling them the Saskatchewan Kraken. 4 Saskatchewan kids on the Seattle team, the Fleury brothers, Jordan Eberle, Cole Lind, and I said if they'd taken Holtby, it would have been 5. Clark says we do have a couple minutes. So is the Kraken team making the playoffs next year, Craig?
Well, here's what I would say. Is Carlisle going to be renamed with a K now for Kraken? Kraken Carlisle?
There you go. I like it. Home of Brendan Morrow. Home of Brendan Morrow, by the way, but continue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't forget about that. And, you know, Brendan, you know, longtime captain of the Dallas Stars. You know, listen, I think when you look at the division and the Pacific Division, the California teams all missed the playoffs. Vancouver missed the playoffs. Calgary missed the playoffs. There's a power, I would call it a powerhouse in Vegas in that Pacific Division. We know how good Edmonton was last year during the regular season, and you know, McDavid and Draisaitl, Nurse on that team. But, you know, when I look at what the Seattle Kraken, we can look at what they don't have, and that's easy to do. But they have good goaltending, they have good defense, and they're going to have an opportunity to compete for the playoffs. And, you know, I think, and I get asked this all the time, Rod, well, you know, like the Vegas Golden Knights, you know, are they going to be able to replicate it? Let me tell you this. You know how many teams have been able to replicate what the Vegas Golden Knights have done since they've entered the league? Tampa Bay Lightning have done a great job. The Washington Capitals, because they beat the Vegas Golden Knights in their first year. The St. Louis Blues. There's a large number of teams in the National Hockey League that haven't come close to replicating what the Vegas Golden Knights have done. So let's not put that pressure on the Seattle Kraken. It was a special time for Vegas, but they're going to be competitive. They're going to have an opportunity to make the playoffs.
For sure. And by the way, yeah, you can say that. Nobody's going to listen. They're all going to be comparing them to the Vegas Golden Knights. And you're right. I watch you every day on Sportsnet, and I saw that was in your report last. Every team in the NHL is having a tough time keeping up to Canada's team, the Vegas Golden Knights. Craig, this is always awesome. Thanks for the time and fitting us in, man, and keep up the great work. I sure enjoy watching you.
Yeah, and I enjoy your show, too. How many Saskatchewan guys on the Vegas Golden Knights?
Braden McNabb and Chandler Stevenson. There should be more. We're working on it.
I knew there was no way you weren't coming up with that answer.
Exactly. Thanks, Craig.
Thanks.
TSN's Director of Scouting, Craig Button. Don't think that's not a problem with me, Moose.
Oh, yeah.
Time to recap the week that was on the Rod Pedersen Show. The best interviews, the funniest clips. This is the Best of the Week show with your host, Producer Clark.
All right, hey, welcome back for more of the Best of the Week. Our good friends over at Rockstar Supply Chain Solutions say hi. Also, if you're watching this on the weekend, grab one of these. A great Western lager, great stuff, love it. And they're brand new partners as well, actually, of the Squadcast. So big fans of those guys over there. They do great work, have great products. Shameless plug. Anyways, we are going into our second clip of the day. We're going back into Thursday's episode, into the second hour of that show. Again, more Kraken talk. We had some Calgary Flames stuff going on with Mark Giordano being picked by the Seattle Kraken, and a whole lot more going on with the Flames and around the league. And we brought in Sportsnet's Ryan Leslie, our good buddy, and he was donning some familiar clothing, and we had some fun with that as well. So let's go to it now. Sportsnet's Ryan Leslie on Thursday on the Rod Pedersen Show.
So we got a lot to get to and unpack with Ryan Leslie, our good and long-time friend. Look, ta-da! Look at this guy.
It's laundry day. How are you?
How about that? How you doing, Les?
How about that?
How about that?
Yeah,
I love it.
I was pretty impressed when this showed up. Thank you, gentlemen. I wear it proudly whenever I can steal it away from my daughter. So thanks.
Oh, I appreciate it. Don't wear it around downtown Calgary, Ryan, because I'm afraid they'll be using you for target practice. By the way, Dale Berazuk writes in, he says, "Good afternoon. The draft was horrible. My son and I watched, and then we stopped. Camping wins. We love your show. Hell of a job. Talk next week. Be safe." So he's out camping. What did you think of the Kraken expansion draft telecast last night?
Obviously, it had to have some showmanship. It wasn't bad. I'll say that they did a pretty good job. I was just kind of more fascinated by the process and how it all went. But Roddy, I mean, that's a tough one to pull off and make everybody happy, make everybody feel comfortable. Hey, I'm sorry, I got the dog barking here, but we'll take it. And it was an exciting day. I was looking forward to it. Obviously, all the news, most of it anyhow, broke early. But just the idea that we've got to look and feel for how it's going to go. The broadcast I thought was fine. Yeah, it can't please everybody.
No kidding, right? Well, everybody likes to criticize. I enjoyed it. Yeah, the picks was the spoiler, of course. But how do you feel, before I get to Giordano, how do you feel about the team overall?
I'm a bit surprised as it sits at this moment that they didn't maybe do more, just in terms of some of the bigger names. I kind of understand why maybe they didn't, the philosophy, the idea of what they're building for, but I don't think we have a true understanding at the moment of what their roster is going to look like on opening day. I don't know if you guys have been batting that around, but I certainly get the sense that there's more to come, and I think we know there's more to come. You're hearing talk of Pitlick coming to Calgary, so that's just a small example, but I think that there's potentially a lot of big moves that still could be made, and I'm kind of curious to see what we saw last night versus what we see opening day, and they got some good pieces. I like their blue line.
Yeah, well, and Giordano anchors it, and I watch every Flames game, Ryan. You've interviewed Mark Giordano so many times. So how do you think he feels about leaving the Flames after so many years and as the captain and be part of an expansion team in the Emerald City?
I can tell you he was probably a little overwhelmed. I think it was really, really hard. It's not like he was blindsided, Roddy, but I think the reality and the finality setting in the way it did, that I know was tough for him, his family, his teammates, former teammates, I should say, here in Calgary and around North America and obviously in Europe as well. And the messages poured in from all of those Flames and anybody who's ever played with him, anybody who's ever covered him. I think it was overwhelming for him. I think to be thrust into that position without a goodbye, without a proper send-off, if you will, had to be a little tough. I think it just gets back to the finality of it all and the way it just happened. And we'll chat with him here soon. Obviously, he's been going, and get a chance to chat with him hopefully again this summer and see, when the dust settles, what that's like. But that's a quality person, a quality player, and that's a key addition for that team. And whether or not he stays, for the remainder of his contract and beyond, time will tell. But they got a good anchor back there. They got a good leader, and certainly a good captain.
Wonderful answer, by the way. And I knew that you had a personal relationship with him. And for me, it was Eberle. Like, I saw him walking onto the stage last night with a Seattle jersey on, and he just looked stunned. He's like, where am I? What's going on? Giordano, I think, hit it a little better. But you've really brought home the personal side of this, Ryan, that it's shock for them. Because they wouldn't have been told, 24 hours? And they're on a plane to Seattle? Like, that's shocking.
Yeah. I actually spoke with Sean Monahan and told me that, they worked out in Etobicoke. And then he's got to hop on a plane after. But, the shock was there. And you're right about Eberle. But it's certainly with Giordano, he's only worn that one jersey for the most part. And it just looked weird, didn't it? It looked really, really weird. And I think Flames fans, hockey fans, it took a moment. I can't imagine it being in that moment if you're him. Certainly the family is just kind of taking it as it comes. And you know what? Not only the good pro and the good person, but he is going to adjust to this just fine. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have a conversation down the road, or when he meets with the media or publicly speaks about it, and how great the city is. And he's going to be 38 in October. It'd be somewhat invigorated, I would imagine. And those legs are still good. He's in some wicked shape. So I think once you kind of get your head wrapped around it, I think it's going to work out just fine for him. And from a Flames standpoint, as difficult as it is for everybody to sort of digest, it is a new chapter. And it is time to, I guess now, turn the page and figure out who's going to be the next captain, who is going to fill that hole in the blue line, and where does the leadership group, the new leader, take this organization? Because it's got to continue to go up, and we'll see who that is. We'll see what that looks like in the coming weeks and months and years, because as Brad Treliving said last night, you just don't replace number 5.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Why did they leave him unprotected then? What was the explanation for that?
Well, I mean, he's 38 years old. You've got to keep some key pieces. I get it. It was purely business. And those two, Treliving and Giordano, had a lot of dialogue on this over the last little while. I would say maybe even a year about this potential. And Mark said, I believe as recently as yesterday, that he told Treliving that he understood it and that, hey, you got to do what you got to do. And Roddy, you and your audience know this is pro sports, and you've got to make tough decisions. You're allowed that sort of mourning period, if you will. And now you got to turn the page, and you got to go out and find the next guy, and who's going to fill those skates. So we'll see. Brad Treliving's got a lot of work to do, but that was not easy for anybody involved there, certainly the fan base. And, Seattle gets a good one.
David Ice watching in Winnipeg says, Giordano has never been to Seattle, he stated. Wow, I was there bi-weekly for decades, haven't been of late, but very beautiful. About the population of Winnipeg. I think it's a lot bigger than Winnipeg, and I will talk about Seattle more in a moment with you, Ryan, but I'm just not finished with the Flames. Who do you think will be the next captain of that hockey club?
I'm not going to avoid the question. I simply don't know at this point, Roddy. I don't know. And I don't think it's an easy answer. And that's a little troubling to me, too, that you don't have that answer. Because you'd like to point the finger. There's good candidates. I'm not suggesting that there isn't. But is there a clear-cut one? I'm not sure at this point. I think a lot of people would say Matthew Tkachuk. I think a lot of people would say, look at the leadership of Lucic. Does he have the minutes to warrant it? Michael Backlund's been there for a long time, and Darryl Sutter drafted him. There's some candidates, but is there a clear-cut number one? In my opinion, not at this point. And maybe that changes, and maybe I'm completely out to lunch on it. But we'll see how that one shakes down. I don't know as though there's an automatic. And I don't know if I'm a fan of the no captain and a bunch of A's. I'm not really sure where I come out on that. You've seen that in the past. I'm not a big fan of it, but I understand it sometimes too. So there are some quality people. Look, Elias Lindholm is a really good, complete pro, a good person. There's some There's some people here that scream leader. Is there a clear-cut one? Not in my opinion just yet.
Hey, I got one. Get Troy Brouwer off the desk with you. Dust him off and put him in a uniform. He'd be the perfect captain of the Calgary Flames. Troy Brouwer, you heard it here first.
How about that?
How about that? I love the brow. I'm not, and you know what? He's in some sick shape too.
Oh, of course he is.
He could probably still make an NHL team. I'm not sure he's coming back to Calgary though. I think he's probably done with his time. I mean, he lives here, but I don't think he's coming to play for him.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, his wife's from my hometown, Carmen, from Milestone, Saskatchewan. Bring that up to him next time you see him. Seattle is a hockey market. I can't get enough talking about it. I've been there many times. I've been in some scrapes in that facility with fans throwing stuff at the team. Hey?
I've never been to Seattle. I can't wait.
Why would you? That's the thing. I was there with the Pats, of course, and I loved it.
Yeah.
What's the buzz in the hockey world?
You got into some scraps, did you?
Oh, yeah. What? Does that surprise you?
Now, this is a show. Yeah, this is a show.
Listen, man. I went to a club called the Tropics one night with Rich Preston, Rico. And he says, 35 years of being on the road, this is the best spot I've ever been in. The Tropics. And it was like right underneath the Space Needle. It was amazing. Our trainer got thrown out that night, and I'll stop there. I'm not going to name him. Just a great town. As another trainer texted me last night, I read it to you, Darren. He goes, it's our kind of town. I said, every town's our kind of town. Ryan, you get it, right, Ryan? Look at him.
I don't know. It's just a couple of passages from the Bible, lights out for me on the road, and good, clean living.
I know. I've seen it firsthand.
How about that?
Well, you actually, you know the trainer that wrote me last night, by the way. He goes, we should do it again, and this time we might remember some of it. Anyways.
Glory days. Yeah.
Glory days. Yeah. What's the buzz about Seattle as a hockey market from your people?
Well, I think in this market, and you say our people, I think it's just more fascination. It's obviously a division, a rival. I think there's a curiosity. Anybody who's been to the city swears by it, much like yourself. And now it was about curiosity as to the team. The city, I think, and from what I hear, and I was talking to Milan Lucic yesterday as well, and he was just talking about how he played there in junior when it was the Key. Am I going to get this wrong? Is it the Key Center?
Key Arena. Yeah. Well, now it's Climate Change Arena. Yeah. He
was just reminiscing about playing there and how excited he was to be going back. So, I'm kind of living vicariously through those who have been. I'm really curious to see what it looks like, what it feels like. I mean, anything that I've seen or heard is just wonderful about the city. So the team will take shape. The city's ready. The league has done a great job, as we've seen with Vegas and other markets, and just continuing to grow it. So, hey, I say why not? And the division is such an interesting situation too, where that town and that team rather can jump right in and make a splash if they play their cards right. Because your California's still trying to catch up a little bit. They'll be good in a couple of years. All those teams down there, and Edmonton and Calgary, you're not sure what you're going to get. Vegas is a powerhouse, so it's a great time for Seattle to come on in and make some noise.
From one of our viewers, Robert Munich writes in, he says, can Ryan confirm if Pitlick is coming to Calgary? Do you have any news on that?
You know what? I've reached out on that. I can't confirm it. I haven't checked my phone since we've been going, but it does sound like it's headed that way. And, there's some Arizona ties there, which we know management has ties to as well. So there's some Oiler ties in there, and there's a few ties when it comes to Pitlick, but they're obviously familiar with them, and that has been kind of buzzing around for a while. So I don't know at this moment, talking to you, if it's official, but it sounds like it's headed that way.
All right, Ryan. Well, this has just been wonderful as always, and I can't wait. Ryan Leslie, a must follow on Instagram. You like to get out to the Rockies. How is your summer going? Are you ever going to get a break here to do that?
Oh, yeah. No complaints. We just got back from Southern Ontario, my hometown. We were on the shores of Lake Erie in a great little town of Port Dover, Port Ryerson. And who I had a chance to catch up with and tell some great stories with from my hometown, who you will know, the great Ryan Vandenbush. And anybody who remembers Bushy remembers
King's
just
great.
how tough he was.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, that's got to know he's from there.
No, not the Wheat Kings. Ryan Vandenbush, a tough guy from
playing Chicago. Played
Ontario.
in Chicago. It's another Vandenbush. Yeah. A Blackhawks tough guy, Ryan Vandenbush. Gotcha.
Yeah, Rangers, Vandenbush. Yeah, he was maybe an inch taller than me, and nobody wanted a piece of him. But it was great to catch up, tell some old hockey stories. So we did 3 weeks back home, out to the mountains with the dog all the time. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because it's been a good summer for that, and soon we'll be right back to work.
Good stuff. All right, buddy. Thanks. I appreciate it. Keep up the great work. Always appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Ryan Leslie joining us from Calgary. He's just the best. Follow him, like I said, on Instagram, Twitter, all the best. He does a great job.
It's a whole week in an hour. How about that? This is the Rod Pedersen Show, best of the week, with your host, Producer Clark.
All right, second half is here of the episode 100 of the Rod Pedersen Show Best of the Week. Thank you to everybody who's watched from anywhere from 1 to 100. You've watched one episode, you've watched all 100. All of the support is great, and thank you so much. Also, a big shout out to our friends over at LTD Radio, who we've been with on this program every single episode since day one. So extremely excited to be here. We had a big week. We had 2 great hockey guests in the first half of this show, Craig Button and Ryan Leslie. And if you're just tuning in, we had a ton of CFL and NFL stuff going on. Let's start mostly with the NFL here with a former Green Bay Packer, Tori Gurley. He joined us for the first time. It's been a few weeks for Tori, and a lot is happening with the Aaron Rodgers situation, and now Davante Adams, the star wide receiver, is getting into all this hubbub, dramatic stuff. So we're getting into that and a whole lot more from across football in general with Tori Gurley on Friday on the Rod Pedersen Show.
We're going to chat a little Packers football now with Packers-Browns alum, CFL2, Tori Gurley. We might have to span this through 2 segments, depending how the viewers, if they're gravitating with it, which I think they will. How you doing, Tori? It feels like a year since I've seen you. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing over there?
Oh, we're great, and the football fans are salivating for your take on the latest of the Aaron Rodgers situation, and now Davante Adams wants out. Listen, these are your guys, Tori. What can you tell us about what's going on in Green Bay? And should we expect Aaron Rodgers to start in week 1 for the Pack?
Right now, it's not looking promising. Kim and I had plans to go up there and catch a game and watch training camp. And if Aaron is not going to be there, then I have no reason to watch the Packers. And especially if Davante Adams wants to take a leave of absence as well, I feel sorry for that organization.
Yeah, so do you? How sorry do you feel for the organization? Was Mark Murphy the president when you were there, Tori?
Yes, it was Mark Murphy, Ted Thompson, and head coach was Mike McCarthy. And things were ran a lot smoother with having veteran players in the building. But now with Aaron being the oldest guy, it's just him.
That's my question. Where did this go wrong? That's what I want to know. That's what everybody wants to know from you. Where did this go so wrong with Aaron Rodgers? Because it seems irreparable.
I just feel like he wanted more input when it came to scouting and drafting. You know, being able to build a team around him. You know, they pick and choose their spots where they want to get guys, but Aaron really want to be hands-on if there's a wide receiver or a top free agent where they can really try to, bring in a guy to Green Bay.
Are you having some sound issues, Tori? Are you all right? Sounds like it's echoing. Oh, it's good now. Okay.
Yeah, it's echoing really bad.
Okay, how's it now? Is it fixed? Jordan tells me that it's fixed now. Are you good?
Yeah, it's fixed now. Yeah.
Okay. So there's the thing with Aaron Rodgers. So you're saying that it's irreparable. So where do they go from here, Tori?
I think he forces his hand and try to get out of there. But the thing about, an NFL team is as long as they have you under contract, they're going to make it extremely difficult. And what they could do is wait till camp is over with and then just kind of send them to another team. And that's going to be the hard part, because if you don't have OTAs and training camp with your teammates, regardless of how great you are as an individual, football is, it's a coordinated sport, and you got to have that chemistry with your teammates. And if you don't, Aaron is not going to look like himself. And, that stuff takes time.
What other NFL topics are coming up for you, Tori, these days? I mean, Aaron Rodgers was the number one. Training camps are next week. Do you have some thoughts on vaccinations? What's going on in Dallas? What's top of mind for you?
Yeah, I'm kind of blown away with the vaccination. I'm someone that's been vaccinated, fully vaccinated. And if I was playing in the NFL and if the owners asked me to do it, to help take care of my family, like that would be something that I do, because every day when you put on that helmet and shoulder pads, you're risking your life. It's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to walk off that field under your own power. Like, that when it comes to being a football player. So if it came like, hey, I need to be vaccinated so I can go out, be with my teammates and put food on the table, I don't see why guys are trying to go against the grain, especially when players say, hey, they're doing research. Like, what research are you doing? Please be open about it. Let us know what chemistry or what med school you're going to get this information, because I just think guys are just saying they don't want to be vaccinated just because.
Which is what they're saying. I've seen psychologists say the biggest reason people aren't getting vaccinations is the attitude of, you're not going to tell me what to do. And so furthermore, off of that, how do you feel about the NFL saying this year, if there's a COVID outbreak forcing the postponement of a game, it'll be forfeited? Remember last year they did everything they could do to get the games in. Now they're saying we're not doing that. If there's an outbreak, that's your problem. You're not going to be paid. What's your thoughts on the NFL stance on that?
It's really forcing the hand of players to, push to be vaccinated, as well as the staff, like coaching staff and everyone, because there are different incentives in people's contracts. If you win, a certain amount of games, you can hit different bonuses. Now, if you're a guy that's banking on, your team making it to the playoffs and you don't make it to the playoffs because you had a forfeit, that hurts. When you start to tally up the money at the end of the year, you're like, man, we missed out on this. Or you might have a team who's jockeying for playoff position, and then, you have some guys that decide to, break the rules or whatever it is, break the protocol, and now the whole team is forced to deal with the consequences. And that's the thing about football. It's a team sport. So, I'm hoping those guys go out and, can get vaccinated so they can, somewhat be normal. Like if you have the opportunity, because, when I was playing in Green Bay, and I'm from Charlotte, or from the Carolinas, and if we played the Panthers, like, I want to be able to see my family. Like, I don't want to be a guy that's stuck in a hotel for 2 days, or, if we're playing Saskatchewan and, I want to see Garnet and Denise and Rod, I want to be able to enjoy them and like go out to eat and go to the keg before the game, because if not, I'm stuck in a hotel, literally just kind of sitting around waiting for, game day to come around, and that's just no fun at all.
That's what they're looking at right now, absolutely. So, question from Jeff, the Stamps fan. He says, if the Packers are a hot mess, who's the favorite in the NFC North right now?
I'm going to go with a dark horse team. I'm going to say the Chicago Bears. I spent a lot of time at Ohio State on the recruiting trail. I got a couple kids that's being recruited there, and I'm blown away by Justin Fields. And, I've been with Ryan Day, the head coach of Ohio State, and his quarterback coach. And I think this guy, Justin Fields, could be someone that turns that program around in Chicago, where they already have a top defense. And if he can just go out and keep the chains moving, and if Aaron isn't there, I think they would be the team that, go out and ultimately end up winning the NFC North, because, last year they beat Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went out there and beat them with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. So imagine if you actually have someone that can, really help you win. Like that team is dangerous if Justin Fields, catches on pretty quickly.
Listen, I got to ask you something, Tori, because you are a players guy. You're a players rep now. You saw Cam Akers last week going down with a torn Achilles. You've heard what's gone on in the Canadian Football League. What should we expect when training camps open next week injury-wise, and how gingerly are coaches going to have to handle their drills to avoid serious injuries, do you think?
Yeah, it's scary. And Rod, you and I, we talked about this last year. You said, what's going to happen with players. And I was like, a lot of guys are going to get hurt, especially with the CFL taking that year off. It's hard to callous your body and prepare yourself for a season when there isn't a season. Like, there's only so much you can do. And, once you get out there on the field and you see your teammates and referees or whatever, that instinct kind of takes over where you're going from 0 to 100 miles an hour. And if your body isn't prepared for that, that's why you have these different, ligaments where they're torn and pop, and guys are just, you're out of football. And that's tough because football is already 100% injury rate. So, if I'm in the NFL and, I'm looking around, I just kind of take it easy, give my guys the opportunity to work on things. And from there, we slowly rev it up. But I wouldn't jump out there having my guys going full speed, because that, once guys get hurt, man, it really hurts your season.
Tori, lastly, it came up the other day about the barbecue that you had. With us. What was it been, 2 years since you came here and cooked for us in the parking lot? I can't believe it. It was a horrible day for me. That was a great day, but my Jeep broke down. Remember that? Everything was hitting at once. You just soothed everything. You made great food and everything. And now you're so busy. I don't know when I'm going to see you in person again. Can you give me an update on your life?
Absolutely. Well, my wife, Kim, she's 6 months pregnant. TJ is going to be here in November. November 10th. So, we're all enjoying that. I had the in-laws down, and hopefully, I've heard rumors of the border, opening this month, at the end of this month in July and 1st of August. And if so, we would love to get up to a game, or, we got to celebrate. We have a lot of things to do. And I think being on the grill and hanging out with some Rider fans, I think that'd be a hell of an opportunity to all, enjoy each other.
Well, it was memorable, because the fellas brought it up here the other day, so we can't wait to do it again. This time, we'll buy the food. Last time, it was all on you. I felt bad afterwards. But, Tori, thanks for the time as always. My best to Kim and little Tori Jr. coming. And let's do it again soon.
All right, thanks for having me.
The great Tori Gurley joining us, whom we were just talking about yesterday. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that he's become one of my closest friends. Best analyst on the continent, by the way.
We've been there. It was good. We're going back. It's the Best of the Week show with producer Clark.
All right, and welcome back to our fourth and final clip of the day here on the Best of the Week for the RPShow. We had another great guest on Friday. He's a self-proclaimed best-looking member of the CFL on TSN panel. He's a CFL Hall of Famer. He's a 9-time All-Star. And as he says on his own Twitter bio, this is his words, not mine, he's a 2-time losing Grey Cup participant. So, again, I'm not saying it, Milt, I apologize. But you said it on your own Twitter bio, so that's on you. But we had Milt Stegall join us on Friday, and we got right into some CFL talk. We went around the league with some headlines. We looked at the season a little bit and just had a real great time. Talked about some old stories and all that kind of stuff. So, real great time, as always, with Milt Stegall on Football Friday on the Rod Pedersen Show.
So let's bring in the great Milt Stegall now. I always like seeing his face. How you doing, Milt?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Yeah, always good. I'm 100%, of course. I opened my eyes this morning, so it was a win, Milt. Hey,
there you go.
You're an Ohio guy. So tell me, please, your thoughts on the name Cleveland Guardians.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe I haven't been watching enough TV. I'm like, okay.
Just this morning, the Cleveland Indians announced they're changing their name to the Cleveland Guardians. They dropped it they dropped it like an hour and a half ago. So, yeah, no time like the present. How do you feel about the name Cleveland Guardians?
I like it better than the Indians, of course. But the Guardians, if it works for those folks in Cleveland, and hopefully no one from Cleveland is listening to this, because that's one of the worst cities in the world, but I'll leave it at that. But if it works for those folks in Cleveland, I say go with it. I'm from Cincinnati, so, we're south of Cleveland. But if it works for Cleveland, I say go with it. But I think it's good that they finally made that change, and hopefully there are other organizations who are also in the line, or who are doing what they were doing, will also follow suit and make the change soon. So Good job for the Cleveland Gardeners. I love it.
That's funny because that's like asking somebody from Hamilton what they think about the Argos' new logo. Okay, I get it. Mel, we are a couple of weeks away from week 1 in the Canadian Football League, but we're 2 weeks into training camp. What are the stories that have grabbed your eye here since the camps opened?
Well, I think the main one, and it's near and dear to me because we're talking about my Bombers, is the health of Andrew Harris. They haven't come out and said exactly what his injury is. I think he's back now doing some running. I don't know if he's back to full practicing, but I mean, that has to be a concern because that team, I mean, they're in a position to go back again, but their two most important positions, Andrew Harris and of course the quarterback, Zach, we just don't know if they're going to make it the entire year. I mean, Andrew has done it, but Zach, of course, hadn't done it in the past. So there's two concerns right there. Also in Hamilton, the quarterback situation, we haven't heard who's going to be the starter there. I mean, either one of those guys have shown in the past that they can be a starting quarterback because that team, and I think they are the favorite right now to not only go to the Grey Cup, but win the Grey Cup. And it's going to be a lot of it's going to depend on their quarterback play. So I think those are the two main stories right now. There are so many out there that we could talk about. And I guess number one is that the fact that we aren't talking about it and we're going to have a season. So I think everyone involved is happy for that.
Yeah, that's the good news, of course. And to be honest with you, I'm hearing the behind-the-scenes stories and what a nightmare it is in terms of COVID protocol, making sure guys don't get hurt, right? In terms of tailoring your drills to not have any more serious injuries. But can you imagine, Milt, not having preseason games? Can you imagine? Like, did you make those NFL rosters based on your play in the preseason? This is unfair to the players. No. Nobody's fault, but you know what I mean, though. Nobody's fault there's no preseason, but a major hindrance to the normal mechanism of a training camp.
Without a doubt. And you think about the younger guys who are really on the bubble. That's when they make the team. That's when they can make a name for themselves. And I know it personally. When I first got to the CFL, no one knew who I was. So I needed those preseason games. And I needed every single second of those preseason games in the NFL. So it's unfortunate. And I know teams are having inter-squad scrimmages, but inter-squad scrimmages don't match up to preseason games. There's nothing else like it. You get your opportunity. You could be the greatest practice player or training camp player in the world, but when those lights come on, when you're playing against someone who's also trying to make a team, who's hungry, who's on the opposing team, that's when you really can find out what type of player you have. So it's unfortunate because there may be some GMs or some head coaches who miss out on some good players because they didn't get to see them in that game situation. Because myself, and I'm sure every other player, have been around guys where you see them in practice and you're like, this guy can't play, but you get him in that game situation, those lights come on, and you see a different type of player. So it's unfortunate we don't have those games, but hopefully they are able to keep the best players based on what they see in training camp.
Okay, here come the viewer questions on cue, or comments. Mandy Donald in Edmonton says, don't forget to mention most handsome panelist. You and Dunnigan ever arm wrestle over that? Or
whoa. There's no disputing that. I mean, I'm first, and who's ever second, they're far second. So Dunnigan, Sanchez, even Kate, she's on there now. So, and Kate doesn't look, she's a nice looking young lady, but she still doesn't look as good as me. So I'm number one, and you can pick whoever you want to be second. So it doesn't
Milton, Dunnigan would say the exact same thing. And two, you forgot Jim Barker. You forgot to put Jim Barker.
My man Jim. I forgot Jim. And you know what? I love Jim so much. We have a great relationship. We forced Jim to change his outfits because when he first came in for that night in 2018, some of his suits looked like they were from 1935, 1940. So we forced him to up his game, and now he's up to par, and I'm looking to work with Jim again. He's such a great man. He has so much knowledge. He comes from a different angle, being a GM, head coach, assistant coach. He comes from a different angle. So I'm definitely happy and excited to work with Jim again.
Oh, I know. I can't wait to see you guys on again. And speaking of, we got to throw some flowers at the feet of Rod Smith, who's moving into the play-by-play booth. And as you mentioned, Kate taking over. So obviously Rod's got to be excited about that.
Yes, and he's wanted to do that for years. Early on in his career, he knew that it would be difficult having a young family. But, his kids are grown and graduated from college. I think his youngest, his daughter is maybe a senior. So this is something he wanted to do. We love having him on the panel. He was perfect for it, but he's going to be even better out there. I mean, Rod he's a special talent. He loves the game so much. And more than that, he's just a great person. I'm going to miss having him around because he's such a great person. But Kate, she's worked with us before. She's going to step in and do a great job. So, both of those individuals are great, and they're going to be great for the CFL once again this upcoming season.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. I said yesterday that I just feel good watching Kate on, no matter what she's talking about, NBA, CFL, you name it. She's so good. Oh, boy, there's a lot of great questions here, Milt. I could keep you for hours. Mike in Toronto says, if Milt owned the Argos, what would he do to get fans to come out to the games? Have you thought about that?
I would have to unretire. I mean, you bring me back on the field, they'll come. I would have to. I could give you maybe 4 or 5 plays, but that's just about it. I mean, it's a difficult sale. Even when they were good, they didn't. Many fans didn't come out. I mean, it definitely helps when you are playing well, but they have to promote those players more. They have to get them out in the community more. Maybe they are doing it. Maybe Pinball and those guys are doing it. But they have to get their faces out there. They have to go out there and grind like no other, because all you need is, if you could get 18, 19 average stat in that big city, I mean, that would be big for the Argos. I know it's easier said than done because it hasn't happened, but they have to get those main faces out there and sell that product. Because if you don't, I mean, if you think just because you're winning, because it's shown in the past that fans are going to come out, it's not going to happen. You got to get out and grind and get in the faces of those young individuals. And I think they have an opportunity to get some decent crowds.
Darren in Salt Lake City, Utah wants to know. And happy Pioneer Day, by the way, Darren in Utah. He says, does Milt think there will be multiple injuries early in the season?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one. If I was a bet man, I would just have to say yes. And I hate to answer that with that question with that answer, but these guys just haven't played football. They just haven't played football. Yeah, they're going through training camp, but when you get in that game situation and you think you're Superman and you can do you can leap tall buildings and all that stuff, those injuries are going to happen. I hate to say it, but they are going to happen. Let's hope they're not season ending or guys are out for multiple games, but we're going to see some injuries early on. Another thing we may see is not so great of football. There may be some sloppiness involved, and I think that'll roll over or get, after the first or second game. But early on, I mean, these guys just haven't been on the football field. We have to expect that there's going to be some sloppy play, especially if you got a younger team. I hate to say it, but a team like Ottawa, Paul LaPolice is a great coach, but he's dealing with some young cats. So there's going to be some sloppy play early on, and let's hope they get it ironed out sooner than later.
Well, you know what, Milt, I wish we could sit and go have a coffee and talk about this, because it's one thing, drop passes, missed tackles, blown assignments for sure. But in Saskatchewan, with all these injuries, retirements, you saw Brendan Labatt going to take the year off. It's a patchwork offensive line. You blow an assignment there and miss a block, and Cody Fajardo gets killed. It's your season. That's kind of what they're looking at here, right?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. And if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you don't have a chance to win. You have to have that veteran quarterback who's seen it all, and Cody Fajardo is that guy. So I'm sure they're going to go all out to make sure they protect him. Even if it's taken away from something else, they're going to make sure they protect him, because if he's not on the field, you don't have a shot. I don't care who you have around him, what type of scheme you have to have him on the field. So they're going to pull out every single stop to make sure he's protected. That may take away from you scoring a bunch of points. You may have to depend on your defense or some special teams play, but they need him the entire year and into the playoffs if they want to have a shot of making it to the Grey Cup and winning it. So they're going to have to do some special things within that offense to make sure he's not taking a pounding if they want to have a chance of winning and possibly getting to the Grey Cup.
And that's the fun part of coaching. And you got Jason Maas there as the offensive coordinator. They'll figure it out. But that's just one of the concerns here. Chris Bird in Toronto, he's an Argos fan. He says, Milt Stegall or Jock Climie? Get out of here with your Jock Climie. Get out of here with your Jock.
What's the question? It really doesn't matter.
It's not a question.
Only thing Jock can do better than me is be a lawyer, because I didn't go to law school. So Jock is real. He's a great lawyer. So that's it. besides that, Jock can't touch me in anything. Chris, I can't believe you asked that. I appreciate it. I don't know, maybe Jock paid you or you're one of Jock's friends. I'm not sure, but that's the only thing Jock can touch me in, and that's being a lawyer. That's it.
And like you say, you never tried to be a lawyer, so you might have beat him there. No. Wayne in Victoria says, if pinball can't fill the stadium, then nobody can. Ooh. And I got to be honest, that's what I would do. Pinball would be my guy. I would have him everywhere. I'm with Wayne. It's like, if pinball can't do it, I don't think it can be done. But at least pinball's there running the team as GM, which, by the way, how did you looks like, hey, they signed all those guys. Looks like pinball knows what he's doing.
I think pinball is more in a figure. I know he's out there, speaking to the guys, but the one who's actually doing all the bird dog, and I don't think that's pinball. I don't think that's his style. Even when he was coaching, pinball wasn't necessarily the coach. I mean, he knew how to motivate those guys. He knew how to get them going. He knew the schemes and everything that were being ran, but pinball, that's just not him. And he'll tell you that in a second. That's just not him, but he's a special individual. And as you mentioned, he needs to get out there, but when he gets out there, he needs to bring some of those players along with him, because when those fans come to the game, pinball is not on the field. Pinball is up in the booth, or pinball may be on the sideline, but pinball is not on the field. And they want to see the players who they come to cheer on. So, yes, pinball, he needs to be out in the forefront because he's more recognizable in Toronto than any other CFL player, and maybe in the history of the CFL, one of the most recognizable players in CFL, period. But he needs to bring along some players with him because he understands that those fans are coming to see those players and not pinball.
Hey, it's funny you say that, by the way. And some of those free agents that they sign are friends of mine, right? Charleston Hughes, Cam Judge.
Yes.
So Murph was doing all the work, but those players told me they'd bring in pinball as the closer out of the bullpen.
He's the closer, yeah. and that's smart. That is very smart, yes.
Yeah,
very smart.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, Milt. Hey, always good. Can't wait to see you when you get up here. Safe travels. So thanks for the time.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Take care.
The outstanding Milt Stegall joining us from Hotlanta, the hub of the South.
All right, and that's going to do it here for us on episode 100, the century episode of the Rod Pedersen Show Best of the Week. Thank you again to our good friends over at LTD Radio for being here all along. Thank you also for tuning in on the Squadcast Facebook page or the Rod Pedersen Show YouTube page. I am producer Clark. Director Jordan's been here for all 100 of these bad boys.
Let's go!
Made a special appearance today, walked into the lobby and yelled at me. But anyways, thank you all so much for being here, and we'll see you again. We're starting a new century, episode 101, next weekend right here on this Rod Pedersen Show Best of the Week. See you in the comments section.
Hey, you! Have you subscribed to the Rod Pedersen Show YouTube channel yet? Head to youtube.com/The Rod Pedersen Show now. Click that subscribe button for all the content you may have missed. This is the Rod Pedersen Show, Best of the Week on LTD Radio.